Hi everyone! In this, the second of the two-part video series, we will continue discussing what is optimism bias and why should you care about it. In this particular section, we will talk about three potential explanations of why optimism bias exists. And this is very important for people out there to understand and realize, because it will hopefully help them to negate the negative effects that optimism bias has on our project management decisions and project portfolio management decisions. Thank you for watching. Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Think Tank Consulting video blog. My name is Jamal and I'm the president and founder of Think Tank Consulting. Today we're starting a new video series called What is Optimism Bias? Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Think Tank Consulting video blog. My name is Jamal and I'm the president and principal consultant at Think Tank Consulting. Today we're continuing with our video series called What is Optimism Bias and why should you care about it? In the previous segment, we talked about the definition of the optimism bias. Let me recap. As human beings, we tend to overestimate our abilities to perform specific tasks and projects and underestimate the complexity of the said tasks or projects. And I gave you some examples of that. Currently, and this is, by the way, very interesting, this is the field where psychology and project management overlap. So this overlap field created three explanations for this particular phenomenon. The standard economic theory, the mass delusion theory, and the Machiavelli factor theory. Let's take a look at each one of them. The standard economic theory says the following. Well, we all know that the higher the expected return on an asset, the higher the inherent risk. You know, think about stocks being traded on stock exchanges. The management of any given company is willing to accept these risks, hoping that in the long run, the rewards are going to outweigh the losses. You know, maybe not a very relevant but very interesting example, kind of like a casino that knows that odds of winning are skewed in their favor, and even one or two big wins by their customers are not going to prevent them from making the money at the end of the year. Conclusion, you know, if you put it kind of in simple terms, well, we all screw up from time to time. So this was the standard economic theory explanation. The mass delusion explanation, presented by Dan Lovallo and 2002 Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman. They basically say, no, it's the optimism bias. There is some gene that is wrong within our bodies that forces us to overestimate our abilities and underestimate the complexity of the task. You know, one of the examples that they shared, that a multi-industry study of startups found that more than 80% of them failed to achieve their market share target. And they say, well, that's just human nature. Business leaders routinely exaggerate their personal abilities. Another phenomenon that they use to describe optimism bias is anchoring, where executives that propose the new projects inherently tend to accentuate their positives rather than negatives in order to make the case for their proposal. And to kind of support that statement, again, a couple of facts that they share. Study of 44 chemical processing plants found that on average, the factory's actual construction costs were more than double the initial estimates. And after a year after the startup of those factories, about half the plants produce at less than 75% of their capacity, with a quarter producing at less than 50%. In a classical case, overestimate our abilities, underestimate the complexity of the task. Their conclusion, again, put in simple words, something is wrong with horribly wrong with our brains. And you have to get an external professional estimator to adjust for that. The Machiavelli factor theory, proposed by very famous project management scientist, professor at Oxford University, Ben Flugberg, who says, wait a second, our study of capital transportation projects showed the following. Executives are rewarded with heavy incentives for rosy forecasts, and they face very minor penalties when their predictions go wrong. During the 70 years covered by our studies, we found that the relative size of the estimation error remains the same, suspiciously constant. For example, urban rail investments were on average 45% over budget, while the actual ridership has been 50% less than predicted. And they claim that political pressure is the top influencer, hence even if you hire an external estimator, executives will still be unwilling to accept his results, and they will pressure the independent estimator to provide them with the results that they want to see, or with the estimates that they want to see. Conclusion from that, well, we're all screwed and not much can be done about it. Which theory you subscribe to is really, I mean, this is the cutting edge of project management science right now. I tend to subscribe to a mix of theory 2 and theory 3, that yes, we have an inherent tendency to overestimate our abilities and underestimate the complexity of the tasks at hand, with some political pressure thrown in. Solution for that, maybe you should hold the executives who authorize the projects more responsible for the decisions that they make. In the next segment of our video series, we will talk about a very detailed procedure on how to prioritize projects using the scoring matrix. How to get from the point where you have your scoring matrix developed to the point where you have a prioritized list of projects. So this was the second episode of our What is Optimism Bias and its Impact on Project Portfolio Management series. Please share and like this video, leave a comment, visit our company blog at thinktankconsulting.ca, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, connect with me on LinkedIn, and subscribe to our RSS feed and YouTube video channel. You can find all of the relevant links below in the video section description. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time for another edition of Think Tank Consulting video blog.